I'm 82 years old, and I need to tell you something that's been eating at me for years now. You might want to scroll past this, I know, an old woman talking about her regrets, but please stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you, it could save you from making the worst mistake of your life. I know that sounds dramatic. I know you might think, what could this woman possibly tell me that I haven't heard before? But I'm asking you to listen anyway. Because I made a choice 30 years ago, a choice that seemed completely justified at the time, a choice that I defended for decades, a choice that cost me the person who knew me better than anyone else in the world, and I can't undo it. I can never undo it. The door is closed forever, and I'm the one who slammed it shut. So if you're in any kind of conflict with someone you love, if you're holding on to being right, if you're waiting for the other person to apologize first, if you think you have time to fix it later, I'm begging you, listen to what I have to say. My sister Margaret and I were 22 months apart. I was born first in 1943. She came along in 1945, right at the end of the war. We grew up in the same bedroom in a cramped house in Ohio, shared clothes, shared secrets, shared everything. Maggie was my best friend from the time we could talk. I have this memory of us, maybe I was 5 and she was 3, building a fort out of blankets in our bedroom. We'd spend hours in there, telling each other stories, making up games. Even then we were different. I was the serious one, the responsible one, the one who followed the rules and did what I was supposed to do. Maggie was lighter, somehow, funnier, more spontaneous. She'd get us into trouble and I'd get us out of it. When I was 12, she convinced me to steal cookies from the kitchen before dinner. We got caught, of course. I confessed immediately, took responsibility, tried to protect her. That was always our dynamic. We balanced each other. We needed each other. When I got married at 23, she was my maid of honor. I still have the photograph from my wedding day, the two of us in the bride's room, her adjusting my veil, crying happy tears. When she got married 2 years later, I stood beside her. We bought houses 3 blocks apart. That wasn't an accident. We specifically looked for houses near each other because we couldn't imagine our lives separated by distance. We raised our kids together. Our children were more like siblings than cousins. They'd run back and forth between our houses, never knocking, just walking in like they owned both places. Every Sunday we had dinner at one house or the other. It was a standing tradition, no invitations needed. We'd rotate weeks. Every Tuesday afternoon we'd talk on the phone for an hour, sometimes more. We'd talk about everything. Our marriages, our kids, our frustrations, our dreams. Maggie knew things about my marriage that nobody else knew. I knew things about hers. We were each other's safe place. Every summer we'd take our families camping together. I can still see the kids running around catching fireflies while Maggie and I sat by the fire talking until late. When my husband lost his job in '82, Maggie and her husband helped us with the mortgage for 6 months. They didn't ask if we needed help, they just did it. They showed up with a check and wouldn't take no for an answer. When her son got in trouble at school, suspended for fighting, I was the one she called crying. I drove over immediately and we sat at her kitchen table for 3 hours while she tried to figure out what to do, how to help him, how to be a good mother. We were woven into each other's lives in 1,000 ways, big and small. I thought nothing could ever come between us. I really believed that. For 50 years we were inseparable. Our mother died in 1995. I was 52. Maggie was 50. Mom had been sick for 2 years, pancreatic cancer, and we'd both taken care of her, though I'll be honest, I did more. I was the one who took her to appointments, who stayed overnight at the hospital, who managed her medications. I moved her into my house for the last 6 months so I could care for her full time. I quit my part-time job to do it. I was there for the hard parts, the undignified parts, the parts that required patience and love and a strong stomach. Maggie helped, yes, but she had her own life, her own problems. Her husband had just started a business that was struggling, on the edge of bankruptcy. She had 3 kids still at home, one with learning disabilities who needed extra support. I understood. I didn't resent it at the time. I was the older sister. It felt like my responsibility. Mom had taken care of me my whole childhood. Now it was my turn to take care of her. But I won't pretend I didn't notice who did what. I noticed who was there at 2 a.m. when Mom was in pain and couldn't sleep. I noticed who changed her bedding, who helped her to the bathroom, who sat with her through the fear and the pain. I noticed. And I think looking back, that's where it started, that accounting, that mental ledger of who gave more, who sacrificed more, who earned what. I didn't think of it that way then. I just thought I was being observant, being honest about the reality of the situation. But that accounting, that tallying up, that was the seed of everything that came after. Mom's estate wasn't enormous, but it was substantial. The house she'd lived in for 40 years, worth about $300,000, savings and investments, another $150,000, and then the things, the antique furniture that had been in our family for generations, the jewelry, including Mom's engagement ring, a beautiful sapphire surrounded by diamonds, the china, the paintings, all the objects that held our history. Mom had made a will years earlier when Dad died back in '78, splitting everything 50-50 between Maggie and me. Simple, fair, equal. But a year before she died, when I was doing most of the caregiving, when she was living in my house, Mom changed it. She called her lawyer to the house and made a new will. She made me the executor and she left me a larger share. The house would be mine outright. The investments would be split 60-40 in my favor. I'd get first choice of the heirlooms, could take what I wanted before Maggie got to choose. I don't know why she changed it. Maybe because I was there more. Maybe she thought I needed it more or deserved it more. Maybe she just wanted to acknowledge what I'd done, the sacrifices I'd made. I'll never know. She never explained it to me clearly, and I never asked. Part of me didn't want to know. Part of me just accepted it as my due, as fair compensation for what I'd given up to care for her. When Mom died and we read the will a week after the funeral, Maggie was hurt. I could see it in her face when the lawyer read the terms. Her expression crumpled. She didn't say much at first, but I could feel the tension. A few days later, she came to my house. We sat at my kitchen table and she said she thought the will was unfair. She said Mom must have been confused at the end, influenced by pain medication, not thinking clearly. She said Mom had always intended for us to split everything equally, had told both of us that for years, and this change at the very end wasn't what she really wanted. She asked if I'd be willing to split things equally anyway, the way Mom had originally intended, the way it should be between sisters. And I said no. I can still see myself sitting there, arms crossed defensively, my face hard, telling my sister no. I said Mom had been perfectly clear when she made the changes. She'd been lucid. The lawyer had confirmed she understood exactly what she was doing. I said it was her legal right to distribute her estate however she wanted. I said I'd spent 2 years caring for her while Maggie was busy with her own life. I said if Mom wanted me to have more, I wasn't going to question her judgment or her wishes. Everything I said was technically true. Legally, morally, by any objective standard, I had every right to accept what Mom left me. The will was valid. Mom had been competent. I had been the primary caregiver, but Maggie wasn't asking about legal rights. She wasn't making a legal argument. She was asking me to choose her over money. She was asking me to choose our relationship over things. She was asking me to be her sister first and an heir second. And I said no. I can still hear my own voice, cold and certain and righteous, telling my younger sister that the will stood, that I wasn't going to apologize for what Mom decided, that if she had a problem with it, that was her issue to work through, not mine. She left my house that day, and we didn't speak for 3 weeks. Then she called and asked again. Her voice on the phone was quiet, almost pleading. She said she'd been thinking about it, praying about it, and she just didn't believe Mom would have wanted us to fight over money. She said we should honor Mom's memory by staying close, and that meant being fair to each other. She said the money and the house and all the things, none of it mattered as much as us staying sisters. She said, please. My little sister, the one I'd protected my whole life, the one I'd shared a bedroom with, the one who'd been my maid of honor and my best friend, said, please don't let this come between us. Please just split it fairly. Please choose me over the money. And I said no again. This time I was angry. I told her she was being greedy and ungrateful. I told her I'd earned what Mom left me through 2 years of round-the-clock caregiving while she'd barely shown up. I told her if she couldn't be happy for me, if she was going to make this about money instead of family, then maybe we needed some distance. I hung up on her. I actually hung up the phone on my sister, and then I waited. I waited for her to call back and apologize for being unreasonable. I was so certain I was right, so convinced that she was the one being selfish and greedy, that I just waited for her to come to her senses. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Neither of us called. At family gatherings, Thanksgiving and Christmas, we were polite but distant. We'd nod at each other across the room. We didn't sit together. We didn't talk beyond the bare minimum. Our kids asked what was wrong, and we both gave them vague answers. Nothing, everything's fine, just busy, you know how it is. But it wasn't fine. The silence grew. And with the silence came justification, layer upon layer of it. I told myself stories about why I was right. She didn't help as much with Mom. She didn't understand how hard it had been for me, how exhausting, how emotionally draining. She was just jealous that I'd gotten more. She'd always been a little irresponsible with money, a little impractical. Mom knew what she was doing when she changed the will. Mom was rewarding the daughter who'd actually shown up, who'd actually done the work. I deserved this. On and on these stories I told myself, building a wall between us brick by brick, justification by justification. A year passed, then 2, then 5. We'd see each other at Christmas, at Thanksgiving, at weddings and funerals and other family events we couldn't avoid. We'd nod. We'd exchange a few words about the weather or how the kids were doing, surface pleasantries, nothing real. But we never talked, really talked, the way we used to. We never called each other just to chat. We never showed up at each other's houses. The Tuesday phone calls stopped. The Sunday dinners stopped. The camping trips stopped. Our kids, who'd been like siblings, drifted apart. How could they stay close when their mothers weren't speaking? Everything that had connected our lives for 50 years, all those rituals and traditions and daily touch points, it all just stopped. And I told myself it was her fault. If she just accepted Mom's will, if she'd just been happy for me, if she just dropped it and moved on. It was her choice to pull away, I told myself. I was just standing my ground. I lived in Mom's house for a while. That house where Maggie and I had grown up, where we'd built blanket forts and shared secrets and become who we were. I sold it 5 years after Mom died and bought a smaller place, put the money in investments. I kept the antiques, the jewelry, the paintings. I'd look at Mom's engagement ring sometimes, that beautiful sapphire ring, and think about how Maggie had wanted it, how she'd asked for it specifically, said she remembered being a little girl and thinking it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. And I'd said no, I kept it for myself. I wore it sometimes. It was beautiful, worth maybe $10,000. Nothing life-changing but valuable. And it was mine. I had every legal right to it. The years kept passing. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. My husband died 12 years ago, and I went through that grief mostly alone. Maggie sent a card, flowers, the things you're supposed to do. She came to the funeral but didn't speak to me beyond a quiet, "I'm sorry for your loss," in the receiving line. I wanted to talk to her that day, standing at my husband's grave, surrounded by people but feeling completely alone. I wanted my sister. I wanted the person who'd known him almost as long as I had, who'd been at our wedding, who'd watched our marriage over the decades. But I didn't know how to bridge the gap anymore. Too much time had passed, too much silence, too much pride, and I still believed even then that I'd been right about the inheritance. Then about 4 years ago, something shifted in me. I don't know what triggered it exactly. Maybe just getting older, feeling my own mortality more acutely. Maybe finally understanding that I didn't have unlimited time left to fix things. I was 78, and I started thinking about Maggie more. I'd see something on TV, some show we used to watch together, and I'd instinctively reach for the phone to call her before remembering. I'd be cooking and remember recipes she'd shared with me, her voice explaining how to make the gravy just right. I'd hear a song from our teenage years and remember us dancing in our bedroom, laughing at nothing and everything. I started to wonder if I'd made a mistake, not about the inheritance itself. I still justified that, but about letting it destroy our relationship. I started to think maybe I should reach out. Maybe after all these years, we could at least be civil. Maybe we could have coffee together, talk about the weather and our grandchildren, something. But I didn't do it. I thought about it for months, maybe a year, rehearsing what I might say. But I never picked up the phone. Pride, I guess, or fear, or both. What would I even say? How do you bridge 30 years of silence? I couldn't apologize for something I still believe was justified. So I waited. I thought about it. I almost called a dozen times, but I didn't. Then about 2 years ago, I had a health scare. I found a lump in my breast, thought I might have cancer. It turned out to be nothing, benign, but for 3 weeks, while I waited for test results and biopsies, I lay awake at night thinking about dying, and I realized if I died, Maggie and I would never reconcile. We'd never talk again. Whatever had been between us, 50 years of sisterhood and love and shared history, would just be gone forever, ended over a will and money and pride. And suddenly, for the first time in almost 30 years, I didn't care about being right anymore. I just wanted my sister back. I decided to call her. Not to apologize exactly. I wasn't quite there yet in my thinking, but just to talk, to reach out, to see if maybe we could start building something again, some version of what we'd lost. It was a Tuesday morning, I remember. Just like all those Tuesdays we used to talk for hours. I'd made myself coffee, and I was sitting at my kitchen table, her number pulled up on my phone, trying to work up the courage to press call. My heart was pounding like I was a teenager. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. I kept thinking, what if she hangs up on me? What if she's still angry? What if too much time has passed and she doesn't want to hear from me? What if she's moved on and doesn't need me anymore? And then my phone rang. The sudden sound made me jump, made me spill my coffee across the table. It was my niece, Maggie's middle daughter, and the second I heard her voice, I knew before she said a single word. You know how you can just tell when something terrible has happened? There's a thickness to the voice, a weight, a grief that comes through even in a single syllable. That's how her voice sounded. She said, Aunt Eleanor, I have some bad news. She said Mom passed away. She said it had been a heart attack, sudden and massive. Maggie had collapsed at home while making breakfast and was gone before the ambulance arrived. She said it had happened 3 days ago. 3 days. My sister had been dead for 3 days, and I was only just finding out now. She said the funeral was tomorrow, and she wanted me to know, thought I should be there. She was so kind about it, this young woman I barely knew anymore. She said she knew Mom and I had had our differences, but she thought Mom would have wanted me there. Our differences. That's what 30 years of silence had been reduced to in her mind. Differences. A polite word for a destroyed relationship. A polite word for two sisters who'd loved each other for 50 years and then spent the last 30 in silence over money and pride. I went to the funeral. I sat in the back of the church feeling like an intruder, like someone who didn't have the right to be there. I looked at my sister in that casket, and I could barely recognize her. She'd gotten old. We both had. The last time I'd really looked at her, really seen her, she was 50 years old. Now she was 80. Her hair was white. Her face was deeply lined. She looked small in that casket, smaller and more fragile than I remembered. She was 80 years old, and I was 82, and I'd wasted 3 decades of the time we could have had together. I'd wasted it over what? Over a house I'd already sold 15 years ago. Over money sitting in investments that I barely touched. Over heirlooms collecting dust in my closet. Over being right. I sat there in that church pew and I looked around at all the people who'd come to mourn her. The church was packed. Her children and grandchildren, of course, but also friends, neighbors, people from her book club, people from her church, people whose names and faces I didn't know. All these people who'd been part of her life, and I didn't know any of them. I'd missed 30 years of her life. I didn't know her friends. I didn't know what she'd been involved in, what had mattered to her, how she'd spent her days. I knew the Maggie from 30 years ago, from when we were 50 and our lives were still intertwined. But the Maggie who'd lived from 50 to 80, the woman in that casket, I didn't know her at all. I tried to talk to Maggie's kids at the funeral. I wanted to tell them something, maybe that their mother and I had been close once, that we'd loved each other deeply, that she'd been my best friend and my sister and the person who knew me better than anyone. But they barely knew me. They were polite but distant, the way you are with a stranger at a funeral. They thanked me for coming. They asked how I'd been, made small talk about the weather. But I wasn't their aunt, not really, not the way an aunt should be. I was just their mother's estranged sister, someone they'd heard about but didn't really know. After the service, I stood by her grave alone. Everyone else had gone to the reception, but I couldn't go. I couldn't sit in a room full of people who'd actually known my sister, who'd actually been part of her life while I'd been absent. I stood there by her grave, and I tried to find something to say. I tried to apologize, but she was gone. She'd been gone for 3 days before I even knew. And it was my fault. All of it. My choice, my pride, my stubborn certainty that I was right. I'd had 30 years to fix this. 30 years of opportunities, 30 years of chances to pick up the phone, to show up at her door, to write a letter, to do anything. And I'd chosen to wait. I'd chosen to hold on to being right. I'd chosen things over my sister. And now she was gone, and I would never get another chance. The door was closed forever. I'm 82 years old now, and I live with that every single day. Every morning I wake up, and for just a second, I forget, and then I remember, and the weight of it settles over me again like a heavy blanket. I live in a nice apartment filled with all the things I fought for. Mom's antique furniture sits in my rooms. The dining table, the one Maggie and I ate at as children, takes up half my dining room. The paintings hang on my walls. The jewelry sits in my drawer, most of it unworn. I look at these objects and they mean nothing to me, less than nothing. They're just stuff, just things, wood and canvas and metal and stone. And I traded my sister for them. I traded 50 years of love and history and connection for objects I don't even care about anymore. I won the inheritance and I lost everything that mattered. I can't call Maggie to tell her about my day. I can't call her when I'm scared or lonely or happy or sad. I can't share memories with her. I can't say, remember when we built that fort? Remember our camping trips? Remember when our kids were little and life was chaotic but full? I can't laugh with her. I can't apologize. I can't tell her I was wrong. I can't tell her I'm sorry. I can't tell her I love her. I can't tell her I miss her. I can't tell her that I'd give back every penny, every object, every single thing I inherited, if I could have her back for just one day. I can't tell her anything. She's gone. And every day I wake up and I have to live with the fact that I did this to myself. This wasn't cancer. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't fate or bad luck or something outside my control. I had agency. I had choices, and I chose wrong. For 30 years, I chose wrong over and over again. Every day I didn't call was a choice. Every holiday I let pass without reaching out was a choice. Every time I justified my position, every time I told myself she was the one who needed to apologize, every time I prioritized being right over being in relationship, that was a choice. And those choices cost me my sister. Here's what I need you to understand. Here's what I wish someone had told me 30 years ago when I was sitting at my kitchen table telling Maggie no. Being right doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're legally entitled to something. It doesn't matter if you're technically correct. It doesn't matter if you did more or sacrificed more or if you have every justification in the world for your position. None of that matters if it costs you someone you love. None of it. I had every right to that inheritance, every legal, moral, defensible right, and I was willing to destroy my relationship with my sister to claim it. And you know what? I was right. By every objective measure, I was right. The will was valid. I had been the primary caregiver. I had earned it. I was right. And it didn't matter at all. Because right and wrong, in family, in the relationships that actually matter, that's not the important question. The important question is, what do you want more? Do you want to win or do you want to keep the person? You cannot always have both. I chose winning. I chose the money and the house and the validation that Mom loved me more or appreciated me more or whatever story I was telling myself. I chose being right, and I lost my sister forever. I don't get a do-over. I don't get another chance. She's in the ground and I'm here, alone, surrounded by all the things I fought for, and none of it, not one single object, not $1, nothing, is worth what I gave up. If you're in a fight with someone you love right now, I'm asking you, I'm begging you, let it go. I don't care if you're right. I don't care if they're being unreasonable. I don't care if you have every justification in the world for your position. Let it go. Call them, text them, show up at their door. Say you're sorry, even if you're not sure you are. Say you miss them. Say you want to fix this. Say anything except nothing. Because silence, that stubborn, prideful silence where you're both waiting for the other person to apologize first, that silence is a slow poison. It feels justified in the moment. It feels like you're standing up for yourself, like you're maintaining your dignity. But it's killing something precious. Every day that passes, it's harder to bridge the gap. The silence becomes its own wall. Eventually, you can't even remember how to talk to each other anymore. Don't let it get to that point. Don't wait until it's too late. Don't assume you have time. My sister was 80 years old when she died. That seemed impossible to me. She was my baby sister. She was supposed to have more time. I was supposed to have more time, but we didn't. Time ran out, and I never got to tell her I was sorry. I never got to tell her that I chose wrong. I never got to tell her that I'd give back every penny if I could have her back. If I could have one more Sunday dinner, one more Tuesday phone call, one more laugh, one more anything, I'd trade it all. But I can't. She's gone, and I'm here, and I have to live with that. So please listen to an old woman who learned this lesson too late. Please don't make my mistake. Whatever you're fighting about, it's not worth this. It's not worth losing someone over. Reach out today, not tomorrow. Today, before it's too late. Choose the person. Choose the relationship. Choose love over pride. If this meant something to you, I'd be grateful if you'd subscribe to this channel. There are others like me here, people who've lived long enough to learn hard lessons. Leave a comment. Tell me about someone you need to reconnect with, and then go do it. Pick up the phone. Send the message. Make the first move. Your pride will recover. Your relationship might not. That's what I learned. That's what cost me everything. Don't let it cost you too.